Chapter 6. Pressure mounts. The shard lay half buried in the frost, its surface gleaming with a cold light that seemed impossible in the dying afternoon. Pax crouched beside it, fingertips brushing the icy edge, a faint hum vibrating through the frozen air. How had this piece come to rest here, out of place and time? Her breath puffed in steady clouds, the cold biting into her skin as questions crowded her mind. Who had left it, and why now? The eerie quiet of memory's cross pressed close, broken only by the distant clatter of carts and the faint murmur of voices she couldn't quite place. With only 2.5 hours till the memory erasure consumed them all, this glimmer held a secret, one she had to uncover before it was too late. Pax straightened, her fingers lingering on the shard's edge, the cold biting sharper than the winter air itself. The faint hum slipped beneath the crunch of frost underfoot as she rose, eyes narrowing toward the skeletal arches of the abandoned warehouses. A distant voice murmured warnings she couldn't fully catch, blending with the rasp of wind threading through broken panes. The square pulsed with a quiet urgency, footsteps echoed, faint but growing. She pressed her gloves tighter, feeling the rough texture of splintered wood beneath her palms as she moved toward the shadowed outlines.
Did you see that?
A low whisper broke the silence beside her. Pax turned to find Kellen, his gaze sharp, eyes searching the frost-hardened ground.
The shard,
She said softly, voice barely above the wind.
It's not just debris. It's a message, or a trap.
Kellen's jaw tightened.
We don't have much time. The memory thieves are closing in. Every second counts.
The crunch of boots sounded from the far end of the square. Pax's heart quickened. The rhythm of pursuit was unmistakable. She scanned the area, the brittle air thick with the scent of burnt leather and salt, and the faint sweetness of decaying seaweed curling in the corners like a warning.
We need a plan.
Kellen urged, eyes flicking to the looming shadows.
If they find this shard before we do?
Her gaze shifted to the shards embedded in the ice, their fractured light scattering like broken promises.
Then our memories, everything we've fought to protect, will be lost.
A sudden clatter echoed, a cart overturned, spilling its contents across the cobblestones. Voices rose, sharp and urgent, slicing through the frozen quiet. Pax darted behind a wooden crate, fingers trembling as she pressed against the rough surface. The moment pressed in, every breath, every sound could be the difference between survival and oblivion.
We can't let them take it,
She whispered, determination stealing her voice.
Not this time.
Kellen nodded, pulling a worn scarf over his mouth.
Then we move now together.
They slipped through the skeletal maze of warehouses, footsteps muffled against frost and broken wood. Each contact, the scrape of a boot, the creak of a beam, sent ripples through the tense air. Pax's senses sharpened, every nerve alight with the urgency of the ticking clock. Ahead, a faint glow pulsed from under a shattered window, the shard's light bleeding into the deepening dusk. But between them and salvation, figures moved, the memory thieves, methodical, relentless, a sharp voice cut through the dark.
There.
And the chase erupted, boots pounding, breath ragged and loud against the cold. Pax twisted, ducking low, her gloves scraping ice as she grabbed a handful of frozen pebbles. She hurled them toward a distant pile of crates, the clatter drawing pursuers away momentarily.
Go!
Kellen urged, and they sprinted toward the shard's glow, the pulse quickening with each desperate step. As fingers closed around the cold surface, a hand grabbed hers, yanking backward. The world tilted, breath stolen, and the final struggle began. The shard's cold light flickered in Pax's grasp as the voices closed in, the memory thieves' snarls sharp against the biting air. She twisted, wrenching free, breath ragged in the frost-thickened silence. Behind her, footsteps faltered, confusion rippling through their ranks. The shard pulsed, a heartbeat of power awakening under the frost. Pax's eyes locked on Kellen, determination blazing between them.
We're not finished,
She said, voice low but fierce. The square held its breath, the cold light scattering like shards of hope into the gathering dusk. Time was slipping, but this moment, raw, urgent, defiant, was theirs to seize. Less than 6 minutes remained before the veil of echoes swallowed every trace of memory tied to her community. Pax Lorne's breath hitched as the shard pulsed erratically beneath her palm. Each beat a hammer, driving urgency into her veins. Around her, the ancient temple groaned softly, its ice-crusted walls gleaming with fractured light that caught the faint scent of damp stone and dried herbs. Shadows flickered along frost-laden columns, restless and hungry, as if the veil itself breathed against the fragile barrier holding time at bay.
We don't have the luxury to falter.
Pax muttered, voice tight, eyes cutting through the gathering gloom. Every heartbeat counted, an endless countdown etched into the chill air. The veil's silence pressed close, waiting to claim what remained. Pax darted forward, boots whispering against the frost-hardened floor, shards of light casting ghostly patterns across her path. The shard's pulse quickened, a fragile beacon trembling in her grasp. Ahead, a barrier of twisting echoes surged like smoke, intangible yet merciless. A spectral hand slammed into her chest, stealing breath and resolve. She staggered, heart hammering against ribs that felt too tight.
Kellen!
She gasped, voice sharp and brittle, slicing through the muffled hum. His silhouette emerged, blade flashing in the shard's eerie glow.
We're out of time.
He warned, voice urgent.
That barrier won't hold forever. We need to disrupt the shard's core now.
She swallowed past the icy knot in her throat, forcing limbs to obey despite despair tightening like chains. The whispers thickened, curling like smoke around her senses, voices fracturing into snarls meant to unnerve and confuse. Pax's breath sliced ragged through the chill, eyes flickering to the shattered remnants of the old stone arch half buried in frost and shadow. Memories clawed at her resolve, laughter lost, promises broken, yet she shoved them back into darkness where they belonged.
We don't have time.
She muttered, teeth clenched. Kellen's hand brushed hers, grounding and steadying.
One wrong move and we finish this.
She cut him off, jaw tight. The shard flared, casting long fingers of light through the encroaching dusk, a beacon defying the suffocating gloom. A sudden tremor fractured the ground beneath their feet, shards of ice splintering upward like shattered glass.
The veil's destabilizing.
Pax gasped, stumbling aside.
If it collapses before we sever the shard, everything's lost.
The tunnel behind them crumbled, swallowing time and space alike. The shard pulsed wildly, agony rippling through its crystalline heart, mirroring her rising panic. Seconds bled away, the ticking clock hammering relentlessly in her ears.
We have to act.
She whispered to herself, gripping the shard with shaking hands.
Or die with it.
The shard's agony echoed through her fingertips, a burning pulse synced to her frantic heartbeat.
Can you sever the connection?
Kellen's voice trembled beside her, eyes wide with desperation. Pax traced arcane patterns scorched into the shard's core, fingers darting with precise urgency. But the barrier's echoes surged again, coalescing into a blinding tempest that shattered her focus. She staggered back, breath shallow, chest tight as if crushed by invisible weight. The seconds dwindled, no grace left for hesitation.
No!
She hissed, lunging forward, teeth clenched against the scream building in her throat. The shard's pulse faltered, then surged, a cruel rhythm of hope and despair.
The connection's breaking.
Kellen breathed.
But the veil's fighting back. We're not just racing time, we're racing oblivion.
Pax's vision blurred, sweat mingling with frost on her brow as the shard's glow dimmed under her touch. The veil writhed, a nightmare unraveling in shadows and sound.
Almost there.
She gasped, muscles trembling with exhaustion and fear.
Hold it! Hold it!
The shard splintered, a jagged crack racing through its core just as the echoes surged one last time. a crashing wave intent on swallowing them whole. Kellen's grip tightened on her arm, anchoring her.
We don't have the luxury of failure.
He said, voice low but fierce.
Sever it now, or be erased.
Her hands moved with desperate precision, severing the shard's tether in a burst of fractured light. The echoes screamed, twisting into chaos as the veil shuddered, its grip faltering, but victory came at a cost. The ground cracked open, swallowing half the chamber in a chasm of endless night. Pax barely leapt back, breath ragged, heart pounding dread.
No.
She whispered.
This isn't over.
The shard lay shattered, its pulse stilled, but the veil's collapse accelerated, a storm of memory and shadow consuming the square. Pax's legs burned as she retreated, debris raining around them.
We stopped the erasure.
Kellen said, voice strained.
But the veil's dying with it. If it falls, it'll drag us all down.
Time's cruel hands squeezed tighter, final moments bleeding into chaos.
We need an exit.
Pax snapped, scanning crumbling walls. A narrow fissure yawned open nearby, a desperate escape route.
This way,
She ordered, dragging Kellen toward the opening. The echoes howled behind, a relentless storm of lost memories and fading hope. Every heartbeat screamed urgency. The clock's final toll was near. No safety in victory, only the thin edge of survival, razor-sharp and slipping away. Shards of ice rained down as Pax crawled through the narrowing fissure, the veil's roar a thunderstorm behind her. Her lungs burned, every breath a fight against suffocating cold and terror.
almost out.
She whispered passage, twisting like a labyrinth of frost and darkness. Footsteps echoed, others trapped, fleeing or lost.
Pax!
Kellen gasped.
The veil's collapsing too fast. We won't make it unless...
His words cut off as a wall of ice sealed the path ahead. Time shattered in her chest. 6 minutes, no more chances. She slammed her fist against the frozen block, shattering it with a spray of frost.
Come on!
Her voice cracked, desperation fueling her. The clock was merciless, a relentless predator stalking through collapsing corridors. Survival was no longer hope, it was a razor's edge. One wrong move meant everything lost. The exit yawned ahead, light spilling like salvation. Pax lunged, dragging Kellen after her as the veil's screams turned to a dying echo. She stumbled into chill afternoon air, lungs heaving, heart hammering frantic rhythm. No relief came. The shard's destruction triggered something else, an unseen tremor rippling through the community's core.
Did we do it?
Kellen asked, voice trembling. Pax's eyes narrowed, scanning horizon. The veil's grip broken, but a new threat shimmered in distance, an ominous pulse, faint but alive.
No,
She said grimly.
we're not done. The clock just reset.
Her chest tightened. The battle for survival had only begun. Closing the fissure behind them, Pax and Kellen exchanged a glance heavy with unspoken dread. The shard's destruction bought time, a thin thread stretched taut over a chasm of disaster. The veil was a cruel mistress, echoes far from silenced. Pax's mind raced every second, a knife edge balancing hope and ruin.
What now?
Kellen breathed, voice raw. Pax's gaze hardened.
Now, we chase that pulse. If we don't, everything saved unravels.
Her fingers clenched into fists, knuckles white against fading light. The clock's relentless tick echoed in her ears, a cruel reminder that survival was fleeting.
No mistakes.
She whispered.
Or we lose it all.
The shard's ruins crumbled at their backs, but the veil's the dark stretched forward, relentless and hungry. Pax's breath hitched as a cold wind whispered through the veil of echoes, carrying a promise. The fight was far from over. She tightened her cloak, eyes scanning horizon where faint pulse flickered like dying star. The clock's final seconds bled away, but the war for memory and survival surged anew.
We move fast.
She said, voice steel under exhaustion.
The next 6 minutes will decide everything.
The ticking clock pressed down, a promise of disaster if faltered. Pax Lorne stepped forward, a flicker of defiance against gathering night. The veil waited, and so did fate. Pax staggered from the crumbling veil, lungs burning, heart pounding a wild drumbeat of survival and dread. The shard's destruction halted the immediate threat, but the veil's collapse unleashed something darker, a new pulse flickering faintly on the horizon, a silent harbinger of fresh peril.
We bought time.
Kellen whispered, voice strained.
But the clock isn't done with us.
Her eyes narrowed, minutes pressing like iron chains around her chest.
No.
She breathed.
The battle's just begun.
The dark lengthened, swallowing remnants of their refuge as Pax's fingers clenched, resolve fierce under exhaustion. The veil's secrets had shifted, but survival demanded swift action, no hesitation, no mercy.
We move.
She said, voice cold steel.
Before the clock runs out.
The echo of ticking filled the silence, a relentless countdown to disaster. And this time there would be no second chances.